All right, welcome to the Big Business on Campus podcast by John Wall Street, powered by Playfly Sports and sponsored by Shorts Travel. We're excited for this episode. We have actually a friend of mine who's been someone who I've worked with in a number of stops and came from one of my favorite places, University of Maryland, where I grew up, and is now the athletic director at SMU and taking it by storm there in Dallas. So looking forward to hearing all about the new gig here. Damon Evans, thanks for joining us. We're excited to have you with Corey and me today.
Hey, fellas, it's great to be with you. Mike's good to see you as always, brother. We go way back. Appreciate the partnership, the friendship that we continue to have. And Corey, is look forward to getting to know you, my friend. And I'm looking forward to one of those hats that you're going to send me here soon.
We will get you a hat. I've already written it down. As Mike referenced, a good place to start, Mike, the reference to Maryland. Damon, you've been at a couple stops before, also Georgia. When you stepped into the role at SMU, you did so knowing that the school was going to be without a full media share. I guess the most obvious question is what about this challenge appealed to you?
First, I want to say that my time at the University of Maryland was exceptional. I enjoyed my time there, a great opportunity for me. But you never know what's going to pop up. And when SMU popped up, it just felt right. And there are some things here that really give us an opportunity to have great success. I know a lot of people talk about the transition to the ACC and the fact that we're foregoing revenue for quite a period of time. But it was the right move, and I think that if you had to do it over again, we would do the same thing. Is it a challenge not to receive conference revenue distribution from a media perspective? Absolutely. But what makes this place special is the alignment of the donor base that we have, the city and how we can scale this city to our advantage from strategic business partnerships. And when you just take a look across campus with the leadership of our president, our trustees, it made me feel comfortable enough to know that we can withstand this period of time without that revenue, but also knowing that I have to do a good job and our team has to do a good job of driving more revenue streams and finding newer revenue streams that allow us to make up some of the difference.
Yeah, maybe I think it'd be good to dive into that because there's probably a lot of athletic directors who are listening to this podcast who are thinking about changes in their conference strategies, right? And you guys have taken this; it's like an investment in time here for the benefit of SMU, which is really interesting when you think about it. And you're going to need to fill some of those holes with new revenue streams. So maybe it's helpful just to hear some of those strategies. What are you thinking about? How are you going to go about filling some of those buckets here to bridge you to that bright future that you guys are building there?
Well, I think you have to take a look at things different. We're probably in one of the most consequential times in the history of intercollegiate athletics. You're talking about transfer portal. We've gone through rounds of conference realignment. Now we've got revenue share, NIL. All these things are coming together at one point in time. So I think we have to take a different look at how we do business moving forward. So one of the things that we've done here at SMU, we've created this division within our department called Mustang Partners. And Mustang Partners is an attempt to bring all of our revenue streams together. And we look at a couple different or three different revenue streams, one being philanthropy, the second being our house revenue, which is your bread and butter, tickets, concessions, and the third, commercial revenue. And how do we bring all those together into one integrated whole and leverage those off of each other? And then we also have to make some decisions of what does that look like in the future? Does that become a separate LLC? Do we take that out in a different direction that better positions us with what may be out there? And the last bit I'll say about this, gentlemen, is that we got to start leveraging university assets as well. We can't just look at athletic department assets if we're going out trying to build a partnership. That's why the word partner is so big in Mustang Partners. We're not looking for season ticket holders. We're not looking for donors. We're not looking for fans. We're looking for people who want to partner with us in this endeavor. So I want to give a couple examples or an example of what I mean by leveraging assets on campus. If we're going out to secure a relationship with a business like Goldman Sachs, we're not just looking for a traditional sponsor in the sponsor sense. How do we partner with the Cox School of Business on campus here that is beneficial for the Cox School of Business, the students that attend that college here on campus, that helps out Goldman as well as helps out athletics? It's got to be more of a university approach, and that's what we're going to do moving forward.
Damon, great example. I want to put Mustang Partners just on the back burner for a second. I'm curious, just as we talk about the media rights revenue, how the absence of it has influenced where you're willing to invest, or be more disciplined in some cases, I guess.
Well, we're going to always have to invest in football, guys, first and foremost. Let's make that clear. Football is the sport that really drives us. It drives conference realignment. It drives how your athletic program is viewed. We have to elevate our brand here to national prominence. So we're going to do things that are going to help us invest in our brand, which in turn we believe will help out our sports across the board. So where are those investments going to come? Those investments are going to look at opportunities out there in the community where we could drive more viewership, where we can drive more partnership with the Dallas community, where we actually become Dallas's hometown college program. We know that a lot of people in this area may love college football, basketball, and not have attended SMU. We need to make them make SMU their second institution. Investment looks like this to me. First and foremost, people. You got to invest in the right people. That's never going to change when you're running a business. Then you also, part of an investment strategy is looking at where you're spending your money right now. Are we spending our money? Are the expenses that we have the right expenses? So we're going to do a complete look at how are we spending our money. Then I'm going to go back and say this. We've got to do things around our stadium and around our athletics program to where we can drive revenue 365 days a year. We need to take a look at mixed use developments that can tie into our athletics facilities. So case in point here, our football stadium, Ford Stadium, we have a piece of land across the way that incorporates our bookstore and some restaurants and things. How do we tie that into the stadium? How do we take a look at maybe a hotel and conference and visitor center? How do we build some nice restaurants, bars, things of that nature to where that's driving revenue at a high level outside of the football season, but also during the football season?
Hold on, I want to just jump in on one thing you said there before we move on to some of the revenue stuff you just referenced. You talked about making SMU Dallas's second team. How do you go about actually doing that? What are some of the things you guys are doing in the community to build fans?
Yeah, it's interesting. And when I say when Dallas is second team, I'm telling if you're a Michigan fan, we want to
I know
be
what you
your
meant. Yeah,
second.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know what
So
you meant. Second college team. I got you.
second college team. So when you take a look at that, first and foremost, what we have to do is we have to get out there and we have to develop partnerships with local businesses. That's small businesses to medium-sized businesses to the corporations that are here, because this community is really broadening as we move forward. Beyond developing those relationships with the businesses, we've got to get out and talk about our brand more. And we got to get into parts of Dallas that we've never reached into. I've had an opportunity to visit with the mayor here to strategize with the mayor. It's interesting. There's no doubt that we are Highland Park's team. There's no doubt that we're Highland Park's college. But when you take a look at the greater landscape of Dallas, we've got to get out, whether it's South Dallas and areas like that, and become a little bit more visible in those particular areas. The other thing that we have to do is leverage opportunities that come to Dallas, like the World Cup.
Mm.
FIFA is coming here. How do we tie into FIFA and leverage the World Cup? How do we leverage partnerships with FC Dallas? How do we leverage AT&T Stadium in partnership with the Cowboys and what they're doing? So I'm looking at branching us out of the traditional things that we do in the collegiate landscape. And if you go out to the Star, it's unbelievable. How can we take some of the things that they've created out there and replicate that here at what we're doing? How do we partner with AT&T Stadium to do events and things? How do we bring concerts into our venue? How do we bring in things like Savannah Bananas into our venues? Those are the types of things that we have to really take a hard look at.
This episode is brought to you by Shorts Sport Travel Logistics, the fastest growing leader in college athletics travel and the trusted choice of over 108 athletic departments nationwide. With their promise, Team Travel Made Easy, Shorts simplifies every aspect of team travel: air charters, commercial flights, buses, and hotels. By turning complex logistics into a competitive advantage, they've become the trusted choice for programs committed to winning on and off the field. Thank you for joining us on the Big Business on Campus, the college sports podcast powered by Playfly Sports.
You referenced tying up with like FC Dallas. We have a column that's going to run actually probably before this podcast even airs, so folks seeing it can go onto our website, johnwallstreet.com, and digest it. But about pro teams and college athletics, leveraging each other's fan bases and market. And so smart strategy, good timing. Sorry, Mike.
No, I was actually going that direction, right? It's Damon, you have an interesting experience where you were in a big market like Washington, D.C. before you came to another big market like Dallas. So, so it's interesting, right? Your experience. I'd be interested to hear like the differences between, some of the challenges breaking through all the pro competition and breaking through and building a brand like the University of Maryland Terrapins in a market like Washington or the Baltimore, Washington markets, and how that's different than you're seeing having SMU break through in the Dallas Fort Worth markets. Like what are the differences there you're seeing, and what do you see as going to be the success path?
Well, first, I'm going to say this. This is interesting, you guys. Anytime a college is in a major market, you'll hear, oh, well, we got to compete against this professional team and this professional team. I look at that as a great opportunity. I mean, so when you have you're in a market like Dallas and you have the Cowboys, which is one of the biggest sports franchises in the country. I'm a ding, 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 opportunity to leverage things with that particular entity, the Mavericks, the Stars. And I've been to Mavericks games already. I've been to Stars games already. I've been to the Cowboys and so forth. We sat down and we've got some things coming out that we're going to be doing with AT&T Stadium and some other things. We got some things that we're contemplating with FC Dallas moving forward. So those are the types of things that I think are beneficial in being in a big market. Some of the differences here compared to maybe being in the DMV, and for those who don't know, DMV is not the Department of Motor Vehicles. It's the District, Maryland, and Virginia. But what I learned in the DMV and some of the differences here is there is everything in Dallas is big. This is a big market, one of the top 4 media markets in the country. I feel like there's a little bit more, I don't want to say a little bit more cohesiveness here. The difference there is you had the Commanders and you had the Ravens and here it's a little bit more cohesive, I would say. And I think that because we're when you take a look around here in this current vicinity, we're the only Power 4 program. Now, there's one down the road, but I don't consider them in this vicinity. We're able to leverage that a little bit more, but there are a lot of similarities to you guys. Great market there, great opportunities there. I just believe some of our alumni and some of our fans, and we've already had relationships with the Cowboys, with the Mavericks, and those relationships are going to lend themselves to help us really drive different partnerships.
That's great. You traded the DFW for the DFW. So there you go.
Exactly.
Damon, revenue is only half the equation. Expenses across college athletics are rising just as fast. Where are you drawing kind of hard lines as it relates to spending, knowing that you guys have less dollars coming in from the conference?
Right now, we've got to take a look at what are our operational needs. And those needs are going to be important. We got to take care of things that impact the young men and young women who come to our institution. So make no mistake, we got to make sure from sports medicine, nutrition, all the health care, mental health, and nowadays financial literacy, even more so with revenue share, our academic support. We've got to continue to make sure we invest in those things. Some of the things that the wants that we have out there, we've got to cut some of that out. If you take a look at it, we've got to be a little bit more strategic in some of our Olympic sports and our non-conference scheduling. You can become a little bit more regional in non-conference scheduling, which would allow you to save dollars. I think that's something significant, and we'll take a hard look at that as we move forward. We need to make sure that as it relates to personnel, that we have our personnel in the right place. And we're assigning people in those areas that are helping us to be successful. So we're taking a hard look at that. We have to create more operational efficiencies. Right now, I believe that you can create more operational efficiencies, which will allow you to save money over time. Sometimes we have too many people doing the same things and we don't realize it. We've got to make sure within those operational efficiencies, we don't have people over here ordering something and going out and doing a deal with some video company, and then they're doing it over here in basketball, and they're doing something in football, and to when we could bring all those together and source that through one entity. So those are the things that we're going to be looking at. But I'm going to be very, very candid, fellas. We don't have much that we can cut back here. We don't spend a lot. I look at some of my counterparts across the country. We've got 17 sports. And I see programs with 20 sports with 250, $300 million budgets that are operating in the red. We are a very, very small program, and we don't spend that much. We actually need more money, and that's part of my job.
So let's talk about Mustang Partners. SMU announced the formation of it in December. How does the new entity differentiate from more traditional revenue models, and then also from like the independent LLC divisions that we've seen pop up at some of these schools?
Well, one of the things that we have going for us, at least I think, is we're a private institution, which gives us some opportunities to do things that publics might not be able to do. When you take a look at Mustang Partners, to me, what's very, very, I want to say, what differentiates it from what we were doing is simply this. Too many times in college athletics, we silo all of our revenue streams, and they operate independent of one another. And because they operate independent of one another, we're not able to drive or maximize our revenue potential. That's what we want to do. We got to maximize our revenue potential through Mustang Partners. We also need to set up an entity that, should we decide to go in a different direction one day, and I'm not saying this is what we're doing, but if you're taking a look at PE, private equity, if you're looking at PC, private capital, if you're dealing with an entity like Playfly, who might have some opportunities to help you with stadium building stadiums and things like that, what type of entities can you set up to help you finance particular items? And that's part of what this is about. Is we need to have an entity that's not only going to help us drive revenue, but that's going to position us should opportunities come forward that institutions of higher learning have kind of been hands off with. We've got to have more business type structures that allow us to do different things, from a financing perspective to a spending perspective to maybe taking some of the pressures off of the institution.
So, or Corey, you good if I hop in for the next question here on?
No, go for it. Yeah. Go ahead.
So, you talked about a number of opportunities to create different community experiences, hotels, retail, restaurants, and bars, and thinking about that. We've talked a lot about sort of multi-use real estate districts and things to that effect starting to get built into college campuses. How are you thinking about that space? Is it something that you have sort of a grand master plan, or it's starting to develop and just in its infancy around the campus and really around the athletics and the live event opportunities?
I would say right now it's in its infancy, but we have hired an architect firm here to start exploring Ford Stadium and what we might do to upgrade that and create more premium space inside the stadium, which are more revenue opportunities for us at a variety of different levels. That's going to be significant. But a part of that is not just looking at what's happening inside the stadium, because you want to make sure that inside the stadium, the experiences that you offer, that you're meeting the demands and needs that people have. But what I think in athletics, a lot of times we don't take a look at what's going on outside our stadium, right here in the vicinity. We have a great tradition here called boulevarding. If you come up Bishop Boulevard, that's where all the tailgating happens, and it's fantastic. But as you get close to the venue, there's a lot of space around the venue that hasn't been activated. So we've got to look at ways that how are we going to activate that space. So I've talked to our president, I've talked to our campus facilities people. Are there spaces? What are you planning outside the stadium, and how can we tie that into our game day experience? So when you talk about the mixed use, whether, it was interesting, I mentioned what they've done with the Cowboys, but I had the chance to go up to where the Packers are. And I don't know if you guys have ever been there and how they have that all set up. Those are things how we've got to start thinking about, especially at a private. We got to be more entrepreneurial, more business-like. Should we be building apartments, hotels, conference centers, retail space, all these things that drive revenue that might not normally be a part of our business? It's funny in pro sports, my terminology may be messed up. They have what they call local revenue and national revenue. The national revenue may be what they get from their media distribution and all these other things, but they all have their local revenue streams. We've got to start focusing more on that type, the local revenue streams. The other thing, I'd go back and sit here and say, how do you partner with your city? Is there partnerships that we can have in this mixed use development that the city gets involved in, and they're putting money into it, we're putting money into it, and it's beneficial for all? So we're going to run the gamut. We're going to explore everything, because for us, everything's on the table. And I'll say this, for us, everything has to be on the table.
Damon, a lot of the mixed-use projects in college towns make sense because the ancillary development is missing largely from the community, meaning like there aren't nice hotel spaces and conference spaces in a lot of these cities. That's not the case though in Dallas. Dallas has beautiful hotels and residential housing and all that kind of stuff. So, how viable is the mixed use project in a market or at a school like SMU relative to a true college town, if you will?
Well, I think that's a good point, but I do think there's room for it here. So when I give you an example of, and I can't remember the name of the plaza right next here to campus that has our bookstore, it has a few restaurants in it. It's owned by SMU. It's a nice area. However, when you take a look at this campus, unlike a lot of campuses, there are hotels around here. But it's a lot different when you do have a hotel at a conference and visitor center right on campus, that when people can stay there and walk right onto your campus and they're there for your events. A conference and visitor center in which you can host events there. Here at SMU, if you haven't been here, we don't have a lot of space to host events. Most of the events that are hosted on this campus are in our field house. We were talking about that the other day. So there's the opportunity to do that. But also, what I'm going to go back and say this, I think when I say mixed use, yeah, there's a lot around us. We're in a big community. But what I want to create is something that is attractive and appealing. So here's something you guys might think is crazy. What is it? Is it called Cosm?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cosm. Yeah.
Yeah. I want those experiences down here. That's way out in Frisco.
Yeah.
Why not have something like that down here, along with connected to our campus, Top Golf? Top Golf is their headquarters are here. So
Yep.
what I'm trying to do is lean into stuff like that, that is very different and unique, that we bring closer to campus, not in the outskirts, that kind of tie into sports, create a unique experience for our fans. So what I look at game day is you're going to come here and game day, you're going to hang out in that area. It's going to be SMU. But then when game day is not happening and you want to come around this area and have a good time, that's still an attraction that you bring people to. I'm going to ask you guys, here's a question. Do you know the number one most visited attraction in Dallas? Take a guess.
I was going to guess SeaWorld.
Medieval times. Have you heard of the restaurant Medieval
Of
Times?
course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so think about that. When people come to town, the number one visited attraction here is Medieval Times. There's some things missing in the Dallas area, guys. When Dallas does not have yet, we have a performing arts center, we have a lot of nice things. But if you came to Dallas, where are those places that you're going to want to go and you're going to want to see if you're a visitor? That's what I want to create as an offshoot of our mixed use space. This is a place you have to go visit when you come to Dallas. Just like when you go to Green Bay. If you go up to Green Bay, you know where you're going? You're going to see the stadium and you're going to their area. That's what I want to create here. And that would be an attraction for people
Is that
coming to
about?
visit the city.
But is that about
Go ahead.
driving revenue, Damon, or is that about driving awareness for the university?
It's both. When you drive awareness, you drive revenue. With the more people that are aware of your university and the more people that hear about your brand and the more you elevate that brand, it's the more people who are interested and want to attend that attend that university. Also, on top of that, when you're talking about if you want to partner with the city and so forth, these are ways to do that. And when you have strategic partnerships, you're able to monetize those partnerships in various ways to drive more dollars. So anytime, in my humble opinion, gentlemen, the more people who are talking about your institution and your program, the more people who are repping your gear, you know what? It's that emoji where you're going, just like Michael's doing right now. What's going on at SMU? So now that person out in California who's wearing an SMU shirt now, it's just like when I want to bring celebrities around. Celebrities will drive our brand. When your brand grows, the money grows. It grows from a viewership perspective. It grows from a sponsorship perspective. It grows from a ticket sales perspective. It grows from a licensing perspective. So I look at all of this coming together to elevate this great institution.
This episode is brought to you by Shorts Sport Travel Logistics, the fastest growing leader in college athletics travel and the trusted choice of over 108 athletic departments nationwide. With their promise, Team Travel Made Easy, Shorts simplifies every aspect of team travel: air charters, commercial flights, buses, and hotels. By turning complex logistics into a competitive advantage, they've become the trusted choice for programs committed to winning on and off the field. Thank you for joining us on the Big Business on Campus, the college sports podcast powered by Playfly Sports.
Damon, you were talking a lot about the game day experience. What about once you actually enter the stadium?
Yes.
Gerald Ford Stadium, Moody Coliseum, central parts of the fan experience at SMU. What are your big priorities in terms of near-term upgrades or enhancements to those buildings?
Well, first and foremost, we got to look like a Power Four stadium. I love our stadium. I love where it's located. We're not going to be able to be a big stadium of 100,000 plus people. But what we can do is make it a very distinctive stadium. We can make it a very premium level stadium. So we're going to start at looking at adding more premium areas. Right now, we have about 13 premium options. We want to take that to about 15 different premium options within the stadium. We need to take a look at the concourse space and widen the concourse space in our stadium and provide more opportunities for points of sale along the concourse space. We need to have an understanding of what are the likes and the dislikes of people. We've done a survey that we put out there to our fan base to see what they want. Heat mitigation is a big thing that we have to take a look at. In our stadium. How do we create spaces? As you guys know, not everybody comes to the stadium to watch the game. Let's just call it what it is. What are those spaces that we create, whether they're patio type spaces, bar type spaces, restaurant type spaces, more club levels? So you'll see different, when I say premium, you're going to see maybe some more loge seats. You'll see some different club level options. You're going to see some different suite options. You're going to see founder suites that come into play. You're going to see concourses in which you can see into the stadium. But also, it's about recruiting, creating a recruiting space in the stadium that's attractive for when we're bringing recruits here to try to convince them to come to SMU. So the stadium is going to be a big thing that we're looking at right now. That experience has to touch more than just watching the football game. It's got to be the place to see and be seen, and that you want to come to and visit and know that you had a great opportunity.
How many do you want it to see?
You know what? Right now we're about 32,000. I don't look at us going more than 35,000. But when you walk away from this place, you're going to say it's one of the best premium experiences that you've ever been a part of.
So
Yeah,
we're going to be doing an event. Well, Michael, hold on. I need to do a plug here because we're doing an event next Thursday in Las Vegas on the premiumization of the live event experience, and that's exactly what we're talking about, Damon. There's a lot of places, especially in a city like Dallas, where you can go and spend your income and your time. And if it's not on par with the alternatives, they're going to go to those alternative places for a lot of what you just said. Not everybody who comes to the game. In fact, the majority of the people who do come to the game are not necessarily concerned about the outcome of that game.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll do a plug on top. Yeah, I'll do a plug on top of a plug.
Plug on top of the plug.
Yeah,
so the John Wall Street podcast, make sure to check it out on our YouTube channel.
At that event, you've got one of the great leaders in the industry, Gil Beverly from Playfly, who leads a lot of the premiumization in the industry. And so there is, and something that he talks about and is true, is that less seats can sometimes mean more revenue. It's a wild, right, statement to make. Less seats can sometimes mean more revenue. Which
I,
is,
I, 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 I totally follow him. I'm going to sit here and say this. I've told everybody this is, it's supply and demand, guys.
Yeah.
And let's go back to, and I'm going to say you guys are younger than I am. When you're young and you walk by the line to get into the bar or the club and you always see a long line, it makes you curious. You think the place is packed.
Right.
Everybody's standing out front waiting. I want a waiting list. I want to create a waiting list. I want to create, what do I need to do to be able to get in there? When
Right.
you start doing that, that attracts people to want to be a part of you. And then you know what? You can start jacking your prices up or raising your prices based upon the demand that's out there. And that's what we intend to do here. We want to be reasonably priced, but I'm going to go back to the supply and demand thing. I want to build a stadium that has a very, very tight ticket that people want to get into. And I always want to have a waiting list because that better positions us to drive revenue.
So I'm going to give Gil another plug here, Mike. Another thing that he talks about is, the premium audience is a lot broader than just your billionaires, right? It
Yes.
really spans the gamut. And so in order to serve that audience, you need to provide a lot of different optionality, which is what you were just talking about. So tell us about the recent changes you guys made to the Mustang Club, including some tier revisions. And when you look across these changes collectively, is the goal incremental revenue, or are you reshaping donor behavior towards fewer and deeper relationships, which is where I think we all see the industry heading?
So what we're trying to do here for our donors is we've leaned on our donors a lot, guys. We want to make sure that when you're a donor here, that the process is simplified. We got to simplify the process. If you take a look at whether it's the Mustang Club or any clubs across college athletics, you'll see all these giving levels. There might be 15 different giving levels, and with this giving level, you get parking, you get a decal, you get this, and that's all well and fine, but it starts creating confusion. And then they start saying, what do I get invited to? And what am I a part of? So we've scaled that back. I think if I recall correctly, we may have taken our levels down from maybe 14 or 15 to 5 to 6 different levels. But what we're trying to do with our Mustang Club here is this. Two things. We're going to create a new major giving society. We didn't really have a major giving society here. So we're going to be launching that major giving society, but also with the Mustang Club, which will focus more on our annual fund still. We we want to broaden our base. We've really relied heavily here on a lot of the same donors. I want to make sure I'm a guy that believes I love political campaigns. I love studying political campaigns to see what was their campaign strategy, what was their ground attack like, what was their social media strategy, and what was their media strategy, TV, print, all that stuff. That is significant to me. Right now, we have about, I think, a little over 6,000 donors to our program. I would like to see us elevate that to about 10,000, grow the base. So one of the main things we're going to be trying to do is grow the base. We need to bring in a younger demographic of donors. We need to bring in first-time donors, donors at various levels, because you move them along that donor spectrum, they will eventually become your major gift donors. And when you broaden your base, gentlemen, that means more people are representing your institution. And there are dollars coming in through other areas, whether someone's out buying a product, but sometimes people feel left out. Well, I can't. You know what? I don't fit the donor model for SMU. I'm here to tell everybody we're going to bring you in at a whatever level that fits you at the time. That's what matters to us right now. So broadening the base, creating a major gift society, simplifying our donor process so people understand it. And I will tell you one thing that we're working heavily on. Our donors hate being hit over the head on multiple times. So how can we set up our system to you make your payment that one time, and that takes care of everything for the year. So we're not coming back and hitting you for this, and we're not coming back hitting you for this, and we're not coming back and hitting you for this. You know everything is taken care of. So that's kind of where we're moving towards.
And I like I like the you mentioned the campaigns because storytelling is a key part of that, right? And being able to tell all the stories. Something that we did together was the Terrapin Brew at University of Maryland through the sport and story business. So using things like that potentially to start talking more to your base and getting them excited about all the SMU stories that are out there and really telling those stories and then embedding those stories asks for being part of the donor community as you build out the storytelling communities. Those are interesting things to start thinking about as
Well,
we
you
go.
know, it's interesting that you mentioned storytelling. Storytelling is a big component for us. We believe that the best organizations tell their stories the best.
Right.
When
Yeah.
you tell your story the best, then people understand what they're investing in. And it's funny, gentlemen, I did a presentation to our board about 2 months ago, and I said, I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you the story of SMU, and I'm going to tell you this story in three parts.
Mm.
And I told the story in a script. And I said, the reason I'm telling you a story because I want you to understand this story is about our yesterday, our today, and most importantly, our tomorrow. So I broke the story down in those three parts and was able to say, okay, we all know our past. We know nearly, 30, 40 years ago, we went through one of the hardest times in the history of intercollegiate athletics. But because of that time, it set us up for where we are today with the transition to the ACC. Now that we're in the ACC, we did what we needed to do to get in, but this is what the future looks like. And this is what our story needs to be. And this is how we're going to go about doing it. But this is why we need your help. So
So we
storytelling is crucial. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Corey.
No. So we get what you're trying to do on the field, and take SMU, to national prominence. What does success look like? What does the future look like for SMU athletics off of it over the next 3 to 5 years? What are you hoping to see? Where do you want to comp the school relative to your peers? Help us understand what that story looks like moving forward.
Uh, First, I want this brand to be elevated to a national brand. I think anytime you come into an organization, you have to take a hard look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, where are we? We're not a national brand, and I don't shy away from that. We're more of a local brand. I believe you go local, you go regional, and then you go national. So the goal is to set this up as a national brand. That's one part of it. But that brand is not just about SMU athletics. That brand is about elevating this university's brand as a whole, which will now lead to more people applying, more applications to this institution, a different pool of students that may be looking at SMU coming forward. So I want to play our role in what I call uplifting the academic side of the equation, the research side of the equation, the arts here at this institution. I also take a look at if there is another round of conference realignment 3 to 5 years from now, I want to make sure that SMU is set up and positioned well to be a no-brainer. So I'll give you guys something like this. Let's say, hypothetically, if there was something that was formed and they're going to take the top 50, and we know the 50 are going to be based upon football mostly. That doesn't mean other things don't matter. Today, could we say that we would be in one of those 50 automatically? Georgia can,
Mhm.
Michigan can, Ohio State can. I want to build a position SMU to be said, we're in. That's another thing. I want to set us up financially for the long haul.
Mhm.
That there'll be some things that we do today that we might not see the benefits of it, but my job is to make sure that on down the road, this athletics program is sustainable. So I want to be able to do that. I also want to go back and be able to say, what does it look like for me that we've had an impact on the outcome of the governance of how athletics is run? I
Mhm.
want SMU to play a major role in that. I think that we have to be leaders out there in the national landscape and help to solidify some of the things that we're having challenges with right now, guys. How does SMU play a role in that? And then at the end of the day, what does success look like for me over the next 3 to 5 years? That the people and the young men and women who come to participate at this institution have had a great experience. They want to come back. They've gotten a quality education and they're successful in any endeavor that they so choose. And you know what we'll be doing is when you're talking about SMU, we'll have our third iteration of our next ESPN thing. We've had, all these two documentaries on us. I want more documentaries on us, and I want people talking about SMU. And you two guys, the next time I see you, you'll both have on SMU gear.
There we go. There we go. Well, you said it well, Damon. I think that's a great place to wrap as we're coming to the end here. So we're excited to see you actually pull that vision off over the next bunch of years. We really love hearing how you're planning to do that methodically over the next bunch of years to create a significant brand bigger than it is today for SMU in the college sports ecosystem. So we're excited to see you do your work here over the next few years, and just wanted to thank you again for being on the podcast. This is the John Wall Street Big Business on Campus podcast, powered by Playfly Sports and sponsored by Shorts Travel. So again, thank you, Damon, for joining Corey and I today on the podcast. This was great, and we love your vision and how you describe each of the elements that you're working on. Really exciting to see you digging in and getting to work there at SMU.
Well, thank you for having me, guys. You know, this world of ours is crazy, but we're having fun with it. And I wouldn't trade my job for anything in the world. And I appreciate you guys having me on.